I'm going to start here first, and so they told me to be brief, so I'm trying to give you a brief synopsis of two wonderful people. Jose Padilla Trujillo, my dad, born from two Mexican immigrants working in the valley in New Mexico. A lot of, and that's important to know because he traveled a lot between New Mexico and Colorado as a young kid with his sister. He had 17 brothers and sisters, but only the last two survived. So my aunt and my uncle, my aunt and my dad were the two cornerstones for my family. And my grandmother stood about this tall, and boy, she was a pistol. And my grandfather was the hardest working man that I ever knew when it came to it, even whenever up in age. My mom, Carmencita Frances Trujillo, bueno, Carmen Frances, until she married my dad, is from La República Dominicana. If you know where that is, that's Dominican Republic. It's out in the Caribbean islands. Now, how does a young man from New Mexico meet a young lady from La República Dominicana in Santo Domingo? Well, my dad wanted to escape the world of what he thought was going to be his life. And a lot of times during that time, if you were Latino, you had to, one of the ways you escaped is you joined the military. And so at 17 years old, he joined the military, went into the army, and he served about 3 years. He is still with me. He is my titanium hero. He stood about 6'2". He stands now about 5'8". And so he has more titanium in his body from all the years from jumping out of planes, 3 tours of Vietnam, and that man is amazing. And but he one of the tours to Vietnam, he was shipped over to the Dominican Republic. And there's a young man, if you do a little bit of a story, a background of the island, there wasn't just Fidel Castro. And we all know Fidel Castro. Okay? There's also a person by the name of Rafael Trujillo. No relation at all. And he was the dictator in the Dominican Republic. So that's when my grandmother in the island was going over to pick up the clothing for the GIs to do their laundry. And she noticed this guapo. That's how she explained it. Bien guapo. Bien alto. A tall Latino. And that was my dad. And she started having my mom go pick up his laundry. And my mom was 13 years old. My dad, at the time, was 26. This is the product of that relationship. And we have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. They're all in education. One is in Florida. The other one teaches or is an administrator in Crowley. I say that because my mother had a 3rd grade education. My dad really stopped working and went to work with my grandparents, and that's why he decided to get into the military. And he completed all the way up to like the 8th grade, 9th grade. And so, why is education important to me? Because I saw that as a value. My mom, unfortunately, my mom and dad, they split up when I was in high school. And I learned something very quickly. My mom, all she did was know how to be a housewife. And when they split up, the world changed for us as kids because my mom now became cleaning houses, cleaning hotels, cleaning offices. And I did that as a kid going up and graduating from high school, so I knew the hard work that was there. And I wanted my girls, because I have 2 beautiful girls. I told them, and I remind the young ladies that often when they're graduating, we do gatherings and talking to the young ladies. Do not rely on a man. Set your pathway. Do not rely on a man. My girls, I told them, you set your future. And then everything else is a bonus. And my son-in-law came to me to ask me to marry my daughter. And I asked him 2 things. You have my blessing. She will continue her education. And if you ever, while she's enjoying her meal, tell her to stop to go get you a beer or get you a plate of food, I will correct you. Because she was not raised that way. You get up, you go get you what you want to eat, and you come bless her with something. And if she gets up she's going to come and give you what you need. I tell the girls this every day. I want them to know they need to be their queen. They need to set their pathways there every single day. I want you to know that I also believe in something so much greater than myself. I have no qualms about this, about my Lord and my Savior. Amen. I was a superintendent during COVID, and that was the toughest time that you can be a superintendent, you can be an educator, you can be a parent, you can be alive. It didn't matter what you were doing during COVID. It shook up the communities that we had. Yeah. We found out real quickly the value of what it was to sit like we are today in fellowship. Because during that time we sat in isolation. And during that time, I lost my mom. And so when you're sitting there and you value something so tremendously, and you don't experience it and you don't know, and those of you that are out here right now, if you know and you've lost your mom, there is a hole there that will never be filled. Right. Because it doesn't matter what you do, how bad you do it, how good you do it, she's always your fan. I love my wife to death, but there was nothing like my mom, incite. And so to this day, I lift her up in everything I do. I lead every single day with the fact of saying that today is going to be better than tomorrow. And I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to challenge y'all to do this, because we only get one life. Only one life. Yeah. This is a 5-year book, and it has blank pages on it. And every evening, before I go to bed, I open up to the day, and I pick one sentence of that day that made it extremely memorable for me. What happened personally might be an item. What happened professionally might be the item. What may have happened with my granddaughters that day might be something that I can reflect and put on here. And I flagged something on here that I wrote down on February 27th. Well, this evening I got the call. They offered me the job, Superintendent of Grand Prairie ISD. I'm so excited for my family. Everything you do every single day is a blessing, and I get to, not have to, I get to serve my community in Grand Prairie. Last night, my board member up here in front that's sitting here, he and I and a lot of folks were sitting there, and I was blessed by watching how diverse we really are, everywhere. And we need to celebrate that. We're living in a time that the world wants to divide us. Divide us on our differences. We don't share and provide each other with grace. Only one person walked on this earth and didn't make a single mistake. You and I are not that person. So we have to practice grace with each other and understand that it's not bad intentions as we're working forward and as we're doing the work that we do. My commitment to every family member in Grand Prairie ISD is that your child will be better tomorrow than they were today. They will be better the next day than they were the previous day. We are not an employment agency. We are not an employment agency. If teachers or administrators or people show up to work and they've been working for years and they're not growing kids, they're not developing kids, and they're not getting better, we are not an employment agency. Go find another job that you're passionate about, because the kids we have, they can't repeat yesterday if they fell backwards. And I'm going to tell you, I love what Stephanie's doing with Dallas ISD. Tremendous leader that's there. And she is setting the bar and saying she's not going to have any low campuses at all. And that is our expectations, and I want to make sure that we address it. And then I'm going to end it on this one note. It doesn't matter what district you're in. You can be in Highland Park, University Park. You can be in a very affluent part of Texas. You can be in the poorest communities in Texas. And you know who are the lowest performing kids? The kids of color. Latinos and African American. And so what we have to do is figure out what we need to do to make sure our students are performing well at all levels. Not just on the south end of town or in the north end of town or across the tracks. Every kid deserves to be the best and provide them with the best opportunities. And I am, by the grace of God, every single day waking up to say, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to make that commitment to my family and families in Grand Prairie. And I have the blessing to return home and do this job in Grand Prairie. And this is not my first time there. I started there as an area superintendent. And I get the chance to come back now. And boy, does God have a sense of humor. You know why? Porque soy el mero mero.
Anybody have any questions? Any questions for the superintendent? All right, Hilda?
Hi, Hilda Duarte. My question is ethnicity-wise, how's your staff broken up? African American, white, other?
Just a breakup of your staff, please.
Our staff is typical when you see, let me address this first with males to females, okay? And right now in education we do have, and I'm sure my partners in Dallas will see the same thing, we see a real drop in teachers in education. Matter of fact, when you go to universities, there's not a pipeline of teachers being developed. So we've got to figure out how do we develop our teachers. With that, we have a majority of our staff right now are Caucasian, okay? But we've got to make and pay attention to on the campuses is you don't have to be Latino to understand the culture, but you hopefully have the language and the understanding. I have a principle right now that you cannot stop Latinos from coming in and eating lunch with their families. You can't come up with a rule. You have to understand who you're servicing. And moms want to come up and they say this. They say, we only have them for 8 years or 7 years, and then we move on to the high school. And we want to make sure we're here. So we are working on it. I've got I've got my one hire that's now it's amazing coming in. And I've only been there 5 months. So I've got my one hire I got a wonderful principal that came in. He's Hispanic, Latino, and he's doing a great job at Marshall. And then I've got some folks coming in at the central office positions that we have. So African American, we have a great support, and that's something that you've got to go out and find the best candidates that we have. I've always made a commitment that I do not hire just for status quo. I want to make sure that I hire the highest quality folks to come in and provide the instruction for our students.
Yeah.
But that means we have to go out there and be like the Yankees. You know why the Yankees are really good? I know some of y'all are not Yankee fans, but I'm going to tell you, you know what Yankees? Because they go out there and find the top athletes, and they bring them in. And that's what I have to make my commitment is go out there and figure out how I can find Latinos, African American, and come in because they can relate to our kids and they can actually have conversations with them. But I also have some very amazing Caucasian teachers that really have a heart for all kids. So that's the key that we have for our students. Thank you. The great question.
Buenos días. My name is Renato Santos with the LULAC Education Center here in Dallas. I want to thank you first off for coming in at a period of time that's very challenging. Yesterday I attended a meeting in Fort Worth at the law school over there where we focused on the impact of the state changes, particularly the in-state tuition for our college students. And they talked about some other challenges that are coming down the pike from the national and the federal and the state governments as well. The question came up and people didn't have an answer. I'm going to ask you that question that came up yesterday. How, as educators in the classroom, how do you inspire hope in the young people that see what's happening in California, in Chicago, and even here in North Texas with the shootings of the detainees at ICE, that they're thinking, there's no future for me, there's no more in-state tuition. Why should I even bother getting a high school diploma? How should teachers in your classroom, educators in your school, in the community address that? How can you guide us to do that, to do the best job possible for those students?
We need to constantly remember what can we influence, not what we can control. And I'll give you this as an example. We just had a major shooting here in Dallas. Let me let you know how close this is to me. My future son-in-law was in that building. And he was so shaken up, and my daughter was shaken up. But he stayed there and he worked, and he's a practicing attorney. He's trying to figure out, he's going through SMU, so he worked with immigration on one side, and then he was working with the other. He's just trying to but he was in the building when this happened. And what I have to figure out is, I can't control, and our teachers need to know, you can't get out there and start controlling everything around you. You got to show up and do the best you can that day. Whenever you put your information on that little booklet, you say, what did I do today? It's the spark in those little eyes of the students. It's making sure you can reach out to a child that hasn't been in school for about a week and find out where they're not. I have Latino families, and the reality is this. It's real, okay? We have families that are so afraid to come to school.
Yeah.
Because of the way the world is, they keep them at home. I was leaving the administration building on Wednesday of this last week. And as I was driving out of the driveway, I noticed what looked like an 8 or 9-year-old little girl pushing a laundry basket. And her 13-year-old brother was with her, and there was a little bitty one, maybe 5, 6 years old, walking in. This is at 1:30 in the afternoon. My question is, why are they not in school? And so we have families right now in Dallas County and across the state that parents are afraid to send their students to school.
Yep.
We have the power and the influence to vote. And we can make sure that what we want, the values that we want, are reflected in our communities. We cannot. We are Grand Prairie Independent School District. We are not Grand Prairie State of Texas School run by Austin. So we want to make sure that we have board members that are powerful. They're voting the values for the community. We have community members that are voting and coming out and making sure they're being heard. We look and we motivate candidates that we know are speaking to our values. Those are things that we can influence. And I'm hoping that my teachers, every single day, they don't become politicized for the job that they are doing. And right now, that's a sad thing that's happening in education. It is being politicized in everything that they're doing and all the work that they're doing. Our number one job is to educate the little ones in the state of Texas. To make the state of Texas amazing with the kids that we're educating. So, and I'm hoping that that's what my teachers do every single day. And I'm going to tell you, it all starts with the modeling from here. My organization, Grand Prairie ISD, will never rise above my constraints. So if my constraints are here, guess what? We never rise above it. So I'm striving every single day to be the best man, the best Christian, the best father, the best husband, the best leader that I can be. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that everyone sees that, and when they come in, they see hope, they see a bright future, they see that Dr. Trujillo is worried about what's happening in that long, skinny little town of Grand Prairie, making sure that we're doing everything possible for our students and advocating for all of our kids. We got a question right here.
Yes, Joe Corrales, middle school math teacher, 27 years. I love growth in any school district. So, but I also love the historical part about it. So tell me about your past school district, how did they grow, and during your term as superintendent.
Let me go.
How they ended up before you left.
Absolutely. Grand Prairie, Nacogdoches, if you think about this, in 7 years, they had 5 superintendents. Okay? And East Texas is a very staunch Republican part of the state. Really staunch Republican. So change comes very careful with them. And a lot of times we go in there and we want to barrel the change. We got to make sure that we stop and we look behind us to see if we have people following us. Because if nobody's following us, you're going to be out on a limb by yourself. The campus at the district that I was with, a very poor school district, 100% of the students, 100% of the students, from pre-K all the way up through high school, eat for free. The highest level of need when it comes to for our students, for our families, for health. And guess what? We're an island out there when it comes for healthy food. It's nothing but fried food, everything else. High case of diabetes, high case of illness, and we have multi-generations of families that have been there. So movement there is coming very slowly. I will tell you that when you look at the grading system, and right now if you hang your hat on the accountability system, which is what we have to navigate, the accountability system's there and we have to play that game. We're going to make sure that we're doing the game that's there. But right now, they just changed the rules again. So our job is to align ourselves to see, okay, what are we going to get to in order to get to that place? Grand Prairie, same kind of situation if you think about it. In the last 5 years, Grand Prairie has had 4 superintendents. Okay? And that's a large school district. In the last 5 years, they've had 4 superintendents. And I'm that 4th, so we've got to figure out how do I provide consistency in that leadership, in that role? Because if that position continually changes, then the vision changes, and that can't happen. We want to make sure right now that we set goals, and that's what I'm working with my board. Setting goals, clear goals to figure out so that everybody knows the rules and what we're trying to obtain as a school district. And I will tell you this, I got interviewed by Channel 8. They wanted to visit with me, and I told them this one thing. I said, you can ask me any question you want, but what you need to be asking is that lady right over there. She's been in the district for 23 years. She's a custodian. You need to ask this lady over here a question because she's been in the district for 17 years. Multiple superintendents. So the culture and the value is still with the community. And it's the same thing in Nacogdoches. You have people that have been working in districts, and you know who keeps changing? This road. And we can't do that. We want to make sure we honor the commitments of the district. We understand the values that the community has given us as far as the charge. And we take it to our classroom and to our teachers. Teachers can't constantly be changing whenever the superintendent changes and brings in their team. We want to make sure that we come in and we understand what the value and the charge is for the community, and we become part of that direction as we're moving forward. I congratulated Mr. Lee on 100 years. 100 years at Sunset. That's amazing. Imagine the core and the experience that we have in a school like that with the amazing. We've got to recognize that as leaders and say, remember, the one thing a superintendent always needs to remember, their money, their kids, their community. It's not my money, my kids, and my community. I am coming in as a superintendent. I need to align myself to those values and figure out how do we move the needle to move forward. That's my commitment to it in academics that we're working with. So.
Gracias. All right. All right, a couple of quick announcements. Tonight, if you don't have a date or you don't have anything to do, there is a play at the Latino Cultural Center. It's called El Pachuco for Press. It's a Latino comedy written by Rodney Garza. I got 6 free tickets. I'm going to leave them up at the front. And anybody else who wants to go, ahí estamos. All right? Also, we ended the first week of trial in El Paso on the congressional redistricting, LULAC versus Abbott. And that trial is still continuing, and we're expecting a verdict here in the next week that will determine what congressional lines are going to be used for the 2026 elections. We're kind of cautiously optimistic we'll win, but we'll see. But we're in the fight there. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. All right, and it is election season, and we got some candidates that are going to be running for office. Our next speaker is a nationally recognized immigration attorney. She's a proud Austinite, and she's running for House District 50. That was the one that was held by James Talico, who is running for the U.S. Senate. So that's an open seat. And she's a graduate of the University of Texas. She's been practicing immigration law and has worked with multiple nonprofits and has been featured in the Texas Tribune, New York Times, and CNN. Let's give a big hand to Kate Lincoln Goldfish.
Buenos días, gracias a Domingo García, a LULAC, a ustedes, a los organizadores para este evento y la invitación de poder hablar con ustedes. Soy Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, estoy aquí este fin de semana para atender la vigilia para las víctimas del tiroteo de la semana pasada en Orlán Guzmán y Miguel Ángel García. My name is Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. Thank you so much for allowing me to come here and talk to you today. I am an immigration attorney. That's what I do. That is my passion. That is what I will be for the rest of my life until I die. I am from Austin. I went to UT Law School, and I wanted to speak Spanish and talk to people from around the world, and so I signed up for the immigration clinic about 20 years ago. And I was sent to a detention center where families were being held. My first clients were a family with a little baby who was in jail. She had a little baby onesie, a little prison uniform onesie. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the reality of immigration policies and treatment in this country versus who we said we were as a country. And so in Austin for the last 20 years, I've been representing immigrant families, and I've weathered several presidential administrations, lots of different policies that impact families, and I've seen a lot of bad things. But everything pales in comparison to what we've seen this year in 2025. We know we've seen an aggressive dismantling of the constitutional and human rights of immigrants, and not just undocumented immigrants. We've seen an attack on birthright citizens, on naturalized citizens, on permanent residents who exercise free speech, on DACA holders, on TPS holders, on student visa holders, on work visa holders, and on immigrants who are in the legal process and going to their court hearings and their ICE check-ins. My client, Carmen, is married to a U.S. citizen, Eduardo, and she has 6 U.S. citizen daughters. And she was one of the first people who was ambushed at the immigration courts. She went to a hearing, the judge dismissed her case, and she walked out of the courthouse and she was shoved into a bus in front of her husband and left in that bus all day. She was ultimately detained for 2 months, and during that time, her family fell apart. I visited her daughters and her husband multiple times during that 2-month period. And I witnessed the disintegration of that family over that 2-month period. And when you go to a household with a mom that suddenly loses her, and you look in the fridge, and you look around the house, and you see the way that the children are falling apart, and you feel what happens when families are torn apart. And just yesterday, there was a raid in Chicago where CBP literally in the middle of the night flew a helicopter on top of an apartment building and pulled every resident of that apartment building out, zip-tied them. They pulled children away from their parents, U.S. citizen kids, in their pajamas, and separated them from their children. And this is happening. And you might say, okay, you're here talking about immigration, you're talking about running for the Texas legislature, and immigration law is federal. But we have a complicit legislature in the state of Texas. We see the Texas legislature pass bills that are anti-immigrant and do whatever Trump wants them to do. In 2023, they passed Senate Bill 4. In this legislative session, they passed Senate Bill 8. So Senate Bill 4 is a law that created a state-level deportation scheme. I was in the committee hearings about Senate Bill 4, and there were questions about how is this going to function? How is the state going to deport people? And in the committee hearing, they didn't care. They didn't care, and that bill just sailed right through the floor. Senate Bill 8 mandates sheriff cooperation with ICE throughout the entire state of Texas. And similarly, sheriffs have said, we don't want this. We don't want to enforce immigration laws. This harms our relationship with the community. We want victims of domestic violence to call the police because they're scared and we know that we're going to help them. And the truth is, in the legislature, we have experts come and testify in committee, but when these things get to the floor, they sail right through the floor. We don't have an immigration expert who's not afraid of Greg Abbott, who's not afraid of Ken Paxton, who's not afraid of Dan Patrick to get up there and be loud. And that's why I'm running. This legislature repealed in-state tuition for Dreamers, the very act that Domingo Garcia helped pass that has allowed so many immigrants in the state of Texas go to colleges and universities here. So when I heard that James Tallarico in my district in Northeast Austin was going to be running for the U.S. Senate, I thought, you know what, I might as well get in there and be loud. I'm doing this on the outside. I'm tired of being outside of the rooms where decisions are being made. I want to get in there. Texas families, not just for immigrant families, for mixed status families, for every family who's literally just trying to live their lives in peace, who want safe public education, a little bit of access to health care, and not to have their families torn apart. That is not too much to ask, and that's why I'm going for this, and I'm running for office, and I'm really glad to be here. I know you guys are the people in this community that make this community run. You're the movers and the shakers, and even though I'm running for a district in Austin, I'm here for Texas. I'm here to fight for people in Texas, and that's why I'm up here in Dallas talking to you. So I'd like to give you guys my cell phone number. It's a little bit unusual, but I want to do it. I'm available to you for questions about my campaign or questions about immigration. My name, it's on the menu. Not the menu. My name is not on the menu. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. Lincoln like the president, Goldfinch like the bird. In Spanish they call me La Abogada Kate. And it's 512-750-7770. 512-750-7770. I'm really honored to be here with you all today, to be part of this community. Thank you so much. I could use your support, so I look forward to speaking to you. Yes.
You were at the event last night, the vigil. A lot of people call LULAC and they've been witnesses to crimes against family members like we have had here. Does that help them in any way in terms of their case? And what can we as community leaders do to empower them with more knowledge about that?
Yeah, thank you, David. Yes, the U visa is a crime victims visa in this country. It allows people who have been victims of certain crimes to assist law enforcement investigating that crime to get legal status. And I believe that the victims and the families of the victims of the shooting here in Dallas are eligible for U visas. I'm working with a few of them, and I encourage other, of course, immigrant victims of crime to file police reports and pursue U visa status. There's also a T visa for victims of mistreatment at work. A lot of people don't know about that one, but people who have been abused at the workplace can be eligible for legal status. So we do free consultations in my office. And, you know, no guarantees, no need to sign any contract or anything. So if anybody knows someone who needs help, feel free to have them reach out. We do virtual consultations. We'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Right over here.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. I'm Julia Hayes. I'm a judge in a criminal court case. So my question has to do with Senate Bill 4, I think you mentioned, how law enforcement, sheriffs are supposed to cooperate with federal agents. Have there been any constitutional challenges to that? Because we all know that law enforcement has to follow the Fourth Amendment, like local law enforcement, as opposed to federal agents who have roving border exceptions and whatnot. Have you seen any constitutional challenges?
So not yet, because it's a state law. So SB 8 is the one, it goes into effect next year, and it says that any county with over 100,000 residents is required to cooperate with ICE. They have to have some level of what's called a 287G agreement, so they have to enforce ICE, and it has to be done by the end of 2026. So we're going to see a rollout next year, and there's varying levels of cooperation, but pretty much every county in Texas is now going to have a cooperative agreement, which means at the very least giving them access to the jails, and at the most enforcing immigration laws, actually questioning people about their immigration status. Now, if the sheriffs are abusing people's Fourth Amendment rights against search and seizure, which ICE certainly does, but if we see that in the state of Texas, I do encourage people to talk to lawyers, to bring complaints. And in this day and age, one of the most important things all of us can be doing is being good witnesses to illegal law enforcement activity. It is legal to get out your phone and record the police doing their job. You can talk to the people who are being detained and remind them they have a right to remain silent. You can ask them what their loved one's name and phone numbers are so you can help them. But I do think we all need to be being good witnesses. And another tip I have for the immigrant community is that everybody who's driving gets a dash cam that records them in their car, because it can feel confrontational to pull out your phone when you're the one being pulled over. But everybody who's getting pulled over should have a recording of that, especially now with what's happening. And so dash cams are not expensive, $20 or $30 on Amazon, and that's one thing I think everybody ought to be doing.
If someone wants to help your campaign, where can they donate and volunteer?
Thank you, Hilda. My campaign website is KLG, Caitlin Kigovich, for Texas.com, and you can find me on all the social media. I also do immediate videos whenever there's updates or changes in immigration law. And I do weekly live videos interpreting all the news that we're hearing and answering live questions. So if you want to follow me on the socials, it's a good way to stay abreast of what's happening.
Last one.
Ms. Goldfinch, good morning. Thank you very much for being here today. One question that I have, I know that we also are part of a group that sued the administration regarding the birthrights of kids that are born in our country. Can you tell us what the status is of those lawsuits at the present time? I know that they're at a different appellate level, and they're ultimately going to be at the Supreme Court, but they have to make a decision that we believe in the Constitution that anybody born in this country is an American citizen. Would you respond to that, please?
Absolutely, and thank you to LULAC for all the efforts in this really important litigation that happens, protecting birthright citizenship, protecting the districts. So birthright citizenship is the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The Supreme Court weighed in on this in the 1800s. Anybody born on U.S. soil is a U.S. citizen. That is not in question. It absolutely cannot be changed by executive order, which Donald Trump tried to do on the first day of office in his second term. That case, many lower federal court judges issued just resoundingly that this was unconstitutional and illegal. That appeal went up to the Supreme Court, and the news about that was a little confusing because it sounded like the Supreme Court was ruling on the question of birthright citizenship, but in fact, what they ruled was that these lower federal courts cannot issue emergency national injunctions, and that they have to certify a class instead. So it's just a procedural difference, but when that decision from the Supreme Court went back down to the lower federal courts certified a nationwide class that protect people who are born in the United States. That's the current status. There is some appeals going up and down, but in my opinion, at the end of the day, birthright citizenship is safe. But we are, sort of awaiting final. I mean, all of the appeals are not done. There's various cases going on, but I'm not concerned at the end of the day that we're going to lose birthright citizenship in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so America has a very rich history about how immigration has changed everything. And our next speaker is the son of immigrant parents from South Korea. He graduated from Baylor University with a Bachelor in Arts. He started out as a teacher at Roosevelt High School in science. Worked his way up and got his Master Principal designation in 2024. And in 2025, he was named Dallas ISD Secondary Principal of the Year. He is now the principal at Sunset High School, just down the street. Let's give a big hand, Principal David Lee.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come here to speak, and definitely I'm going to tell you about the rich history of Sunset High School. We just recently celebrated our 100-year, our centennial, and we're very proud of that. But before I do so, I'm very inspired. We have just such amazing guest speakers today. Thank you, Kate Goldfinch and Dr. Trujillo for your words and your message. Quite inspiring to have such leaders here. And for me, it gives us hope. It gives us inspiration. I wanted to start off by telling everyone a little bit about my why before I talk to you about Sunset. So I was born in South Korea, and my family in Korea was very comfortable. My father actually was an engineer, and my mother was a homemaker. During that time in South Korea, there was a lot of political unrest, and my family believed in the American dream. They took a leap of faith, took everything in 2 suitcases, and came to America. This was 1980, and during that time, there was no internet. English learning was very limited, and my parents ended up struggling quite a bit. My father and mother went from having a comfortable career to both being custodians day and night. And they cleaned office buildings and restrooms and things like that. So for me, working at a school, these custodians and cafeteria workers, I know they work so hard and they do so much for our children. So my parents, even though we didn't have a lot, they always instilled within me the value of education. Even though it might have been hard to put food on the plate, they always made sure I had what I needed for school. And through that process, through amazing teachers that supported me and saw something in me, I was able to really have opportunities. Eventually, I was placed in some of the more advanced classes because the teacher said, "Hey, David, why don't you go ahead and take this test?" Sure, I didn't know what it was. And that opened up doors to take gifted and talented courses, and eventually AP, advanced placement courses, and dual credit courses in high school. While I was in high school, I was able to do quite well, and I was able to go to Baylor University with an academic scholarship. And that kind of opened up doors for me as well. One of the things that I really want to share with you is the connection that I had. As a little kid, I remember going, up to adults, meetings that my parents had with my teachers, and grocery stores and different office spaces. As a little child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, translating for my parents. And a lot of our children and a lot of you probably grew up with that same experience as well. But working hard, and I say these things because we are all connected in more ways than you believe, right? And we all share common threads. And for me, that's the reason I have a passion with supporting educating English language learners. And the communities that we serve, we have quite a high number of those students. The message that resonated with me with what Kate was saying, we do have students who are scared. We do have parents who, at the beginning of the year, withdrew, and we asked them, why are you withdrawing? Where are you going? Oh, I'm going back to Mexico. I'm going back to Honduras. I'm going back to El Salvador, because they're scared. And for one thing, they love America, they love this country, they want to stay here, but they do not want their families broken. And we saw, some of those things that happened years past. So again, that's my why. That's why I came into education. That's why I came into Dallas. That's why I'm privileged and honored to serve our Sunset community and Oak Cliff here in Dallas. So let me tell you a little bit about Sunset now. Sunset High School is amazing. Like I said, we just celebrated our 100-year centennial celebration just 2 weeks ago, and we had an amazing turnout. We had a parade, and just we really did an amazing job bringing the community together to celebrate this milestone. Not many schools get to say that they have been able to be privileged enough to celebrate 100 years, and for Sunset we were able to do so. Our motto at Sunset is spirit, knowledge, and friendship. And that motto just resonates with us and carries with us throughout our 100-year tradition. So, in talking about the past of Sunset, Sunset High School started off in Oak Cliff 100 years ago, and 100 years ago there was only one high school in Oak Cliff, and the name of that high school was Oak Cliff High School. And during that time, our community kept on growing and developing, and Oak Cliff High School soon outgrew its capacity, and they saw a need to build another school in Oak Cliff. And hence, Sunset High School was built. The name Sunset High School actually comes from the community, Sunset Hills at the time, and that's where the name Sunset High School was able to be adopted. So during that time at Sunset, there were open fields, cotton fields, and students had to cross fields and lines coming into the school. And that invoked this idea and image of early pioneers. And hence, our mascot, the mighty bison, was created. And it's been our mascot ever since. So in September 11th, 1925, Sun School opened its doors to 1,400 students as its second high school in Oak Cliff. And I will say, we received a letter from the principal of Oak Cliff High School. His name was W.H. Adamson. And he was welcoming and giving good wishes to a lot of the students who left Oak Cliff High School to come to Sunset. Many of you know that Oak Cliff High School later changed its name to Adamson High School in recognition with Principal Adamson. So we have very close ties with our schools from 100 years ago. But I will say we're very big rivals as well, and my kids definitely let me know that. I was the principal of Hector P. Garcia Middle School for 5 years before I was able to transition to Sunset High School. And during my time at Garcia, I was able to build a lot of great bonds with our students and our community. We were able to transform that school from a C campus to an A-rated campus. Hector P. Garcia School was the first school in South Dallas to be an international baccalaureate school. And very soon after, Peeler Elementary and now Adamson High School are IB pathways as well. My vision at the time was the only other high schools that had that pathway was Hillcrest and Woodrow Wilson. Why should only the schools in North Dallas and some of the more affluent areas receive the best schooling and the best education? So we were like, everyone said it's hard. The students in our area, they can't do project-based learning. You know, they're barely able to read and write. And I said, no, we need to keep believing in our children. Our children have the ability to achieve great things. And so, some of these naysayers slowly started to drift away and drift out, and those with, you know, when we talked about vision and the importance of vision, saying this is something that we want for our students and want for our community. And slowly, we were able to make those changes. We went from one of the poorest climate surveys in a school to one of the top climate surveys. We went from a C-rated campus to the best rated middle school in Dallas. And for that, you know, it allowed me to understand and know that, hey, hard work and believing in our children, anything is possible.
Right.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
So coming back to Sunset, I was honored to be elected and selected as a principal of Sunset last year. And I remember my first day on the job, a group of students came up to me and said, Mr. Lee, welcome to Sunset. We're so very happy to have you here. But they also said, Mr. Lee, we hear that you came from Garcia Middle School. Isn't that the middle school that goes to Adamson? I said, yes. And they said, Mr. Lee, you can no longer wear any blue, and anything that has a leopard or Adamson on it, you better burn that and throw it away. Yeah! And I said, okay, you know, fair enough. So that night I ordered 8 purple neckties, and I haven't worn blue or Adamson since. So in all, you know, fairness, you know, that's the community that we have at Sunset. Yesterday we had a volleyball game against Adamson at Sunset. It was an amazing game. We went to 5 sets, and Sunset did end up coming ahead, but it was a really good game. But after the game, some of the students, athletes from Adamson, came to me and said, Mr. Lee, can I take a picture with you? And I said, yeah, of course. They're, of course, my old students from Garcia, right? And I was taking pictures, and I was asking how they were doing, and wishing them good luck. And then afterwards, my Sunset students came up to me and said, Mr. Lee, why are you taking pictures with Adamson girls? And I had to explain myself. Saying, those are my old students, but I did tell them, I almost had some of those Adamson girls do the bison hook-em. So they almost did, I said, no, it's okay. I don't want you to get in trouble with your school. But in all fairness, we are connected. We are one Oak Cliff, and we're very excited for that. So the history of Oak Cliff is very important to us, right? We have a very rich tradition. We have many notable alumni who graduated from Sunset, including former Superintendent Dr. Michael Hinojosa is a Sunset graduate. And I've had an opportunity to really meet a lot of amazing Sunset alumni, and it allowed me to see how much we, again, are connected. We have a lot more similarities than we do differences. And that's one thing I continue to stress. So that's the past. Let's talk about the present now. Presently at Sunset, we are a school that we are very proud of. We excel in many different areas. Last year, our band, we have an amazing band, we call them the Purple Marching Machine. They competed in academic UIL. We sent 2 teams, our varsity team and the junior varsity team. They received perfect scores by the judges and came up with 2 sweepstakes UIL trophies. A few weeks later, our choir sent 2 teams as well. Varsity and JV team also received perfect scores and received the sweepstakes trophy through UIL. We are regional champions in academic UIL, in social studies and accounting. We sent our team, our robotics team to state. We've sent our accounting team to Florida to compete our DECA during the DECA competition. And we excel. We really do in the social aspects and extracurricular. We're very proud of that. We have our Bisonettes, you know, well-renowned Bisonettes who frequently perform. Just a few weeks ago during the Dallas Cowboys game against New York, our dancers performed in the halftime show, our folklorico team, and was able to open up Hispanic Heritage Month with that performance. So we're very proud of that as well. Yes. But also speaking academically, you know, those things are important. Don't get me wrong, they really are. But we know that academics is going to truly be the definer that opens up new doors and opportunities for our students. So academically speaking, Sunset High School, we are rated a B+ by TEA, and we're the 3rd highest rated comprehensive high school in Dallas. And we're going to continue to push and drive. And I made a commitment to the parents and students and teachers, we will be an A campus very soon. A campus high school. So, you know, those are things that we're very excited about, right? And we know that Sunset has a very bright future. Let me also tell you one more story, and this is about a student, Edgar. Edgar went to Conn Elementary School, and then he went to Kittania Middle School. Edgar, during that time, teachers saw something very special in Edgar. They saw that he had a unique talent. They saw that with the proper amount of nurturing and bringing up, he could do something special. And the teachers spent extra time with him to encourage him and motivate him. By the time Edgar finished 8th grade, he had the choice to attend any high school in Dallas, including the Townview schools. Edgar chose Sunset. At Sunset, he was very active. He participated. He was one of our main band stars. He was part of student council, one of our student leaders, and he took every single AP class that we offered at Sunset, getting perfect scores of 5s on any of those tests as well. Edgar, last year, graduated as our valedictorian. And right now, today, Edgar is a student at Dartmouth University. Our first Ivy League student in quite a while, but I will assure you, not our last. And that's the commitment that we have to our students. This is what our students can do. And I encourage everybody, believe in our students, support our schools, and be involved in our schools. Let me talk a little bit about the future of Sunset. Going forward, our future is very bright. We celebrated the past 100 years of Sunset, and we know, that we have big shoes to fill, but our future is bright. It is shining bright. And we know that through the hard work and commitment of our teachers, our students, our parents, and our community, the next 100 years at Sunset can be even better and greater. And I also want to go ahead and say I just so much appreciate the level of support that we have in our community. We really do. And I was here at the Chorizo Menudo in August, and some of our track athletes were running around, and they were here in their track gear, and Mr. Delabra, our cross-country track coach, was here as well. And he just asked, can y'all help us? Can you help our track team, raise some money? And during that time, without hesitation, Domingo Garcia donated $10,000 for our sports program. That's the level of support. It was like mind-blowing. Like, wow. And sometimes we have to do is ask and come out here and let our students show how passionate they are and the bright future they have. And people will support our schools. People will support public education. People will support our schools here in Oak Cliff. And we're just so very proud of that and very appreciative. During our centennial year, we were also invited to the Dallas County Commissioner's Court Office, and Commissioner Dr. Elba Garcia was able to recognize us with a resolution, and we went there with a lot of our students, our staff members, and I was able to speak on behalf of our school. And one of the things that really struck me was County Judge Clay Jenkins told me afterwards, "Hey, Mr. Lee, I want to tell you, my father graduated from Sunset High School in 1946. And again, it's just the way that we're all connected and the rich history and the rich heritage that we have is just so amazing. I am just so very honored to serve as the principal of Sunset High School. I will do everything I can to ensure that our students have a bright future. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing. I was 21-year education and as community liaison. 2 questions. Do you have a community liaison? And secondly, how are you following up with the kids that are not returning because of the fear of immigration and so forth? Are you following up with that? And what is your success rate on that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. We do have a parent support specialist. Those are what they're called in district now. Her name is Monica Hernandez. Unfortunately, she was not able to join us today, but she was here in previous. So that's a great connection to our school. And we invite you. Just earlier this week, we had a coffee with the principal. So anybody in the community is welcome to join us. All of that is posted publicly. So come and join us and be part of our community.
Is that through site-based? Is that through site-based?
So that's separate. So we do have a SBDM, the site-based meetings, community meetings. But the coffee with the principal is really an informal meeting where I get to talk to our community and our parents and let them know about how things are going at Sunset. But also, it's a partnership.